The Switch Axe has seen better days. Yes, it is not the top weapon in Monster Hunter Wilds right now, but what keeps it down is getting fixed in full release, and the building blocks of an amazing weapon are all right here. The Switch Axe is essentially a much simpler and, in my opinion, a more fun version of the Charge Blade. The Switch Axe can transition between axe and sword. Axe mode is mobile and it charges your weapon, and sword mode is very slow, and that's where you dump all your energy into big explosions. Yes, explosions. I think you're sold already. You need to continually cycle through the modes to get the most damage, but since they are both long two-handers, it actually feels really smooth. Unlike the Charge Blade, where it feels like a chore to be in sword mode, it is part of the flow. You do not even notice that you're swapping weapons. You have two bars below your sharpness. The main bar is called the switch gauge. It is yellow. It only means that if you get over the line, you can go into sword mode. The second bar is the amp. The second bar is the amp bar. You charge it by attacking in sword mode. Once you get it red, your attacks gets explosions and they explode. Okay, we good on that, right? So the goal is to charge your first bar in axe mode as quickly as possible, then you swap into sword mode, you do your charging of the second bar, and then you max it out, and then you get the big boom boom. Simple and elegant. Also, your explosions do a stupid amount of stun damage for some reason, so you also get that good advantage over there. You can stun a lot of monsters. I will refer to the controls by their PlayStation names because it is easier. If you are on the Xbox, it is the same layout, and the only difference is the name of the buttons. You swap from axe mode to sword mode by pressing right trigger, and it is actually an attack move, so you can attack while you morph, and that's part of the flow of the weapon, that you are morphing in between combos. As a matter of fact, the most efficient combo is to do a 1-2, 1-2 swap between weapons modes over and over and over, and you start from axe mode. You do a circle, then right trigger, then triangle, then right trigger, then triangle, and you can do this over and over and over again. It is really satisfying once you get the groove of it, and the good thing is that you achieve a very good balance between both bars. You are refreshing both of them constantly, but you do not have to do it, okay? Like, here's the principle I need you to understand. In axe mode, you can chain circle into right trigger to swap into sword mode, but in sword mode, you can chain triangle into right trigger to swap into axe mode. Also remember that you can do a triangle immediately after you morph either one of them, so that's the main principle, okay? If you understand that basic little combination, you can make up your own combos. Whatever you need to do, you can do it and then swap and morph without losing any uptime. And that's what makes this weapon so interesting, right? Like, you can do anything and there is always an optimal way to weave in whatever you want to do in between, so the skill ceiling is very high. And as you become better at the Switch Axe, you're gonna be looking at your bars and you're gonna try to balance it out more optimally by trying to stay a little longer in axe mode or in sword mode, and that's gonna be the main game that you play there. So it is important that you understand this basic transition early. Another cool thing is that you have an offset ability in axe mode, so if you hit the monster while it is on an attack animation, you are gonna block the attack, most of them anyway, and you are gonna stagger the monster back. It is very important for a slow weapon and a very immobile weapon like the Switch Axe. You have no mobility basically, so it is very important to take advantage of the offsets when you can. You can do it by pressing triangle and circle at the same time in axe mode, and if you get a successful offset, you can follow it up with triangle and circle again, and you do a lot of damage. And this is why I recommend the Doshaguma set for you. It is gonna be available in the early game, in the full release of the game too. It is gonna give you a lot of damage whenever you get an offset, and the best part is that it is very easy to land an offset on this weapon. You just spam the offset ability until you get it. Like, yes, you are gonna do a little less damage than the normal combo, but it is decent damage, and you are eventually gonna get an offset. You don't have to do something super timed or complicated. You just spam it. No skill whatsoever. Meanwhile, in sword mode, if you do triangle and circle at the same time, you're gonna do an elemental discharge, which is one of your strongest attacks. It can also explode if you're in an amp state. That's the red bar. But here's a combo that's gonna be a little more effective for that, because it's gonna generate some of your bar back. That's gonna be circle, then triangle and circle, of course, and then you spam triangle, so you do the max out elemental discharge, and then you right trigger immediately, so you can skip the recharging animation because you're gonna recharge if you run out, and you do a huge follow-up instead, and then you can go back to whatever combo you want to do. What is the reload animation? Okay, if you're in sword mode and your sword bar runs out, you see that little line, that is gonna force you to do a reload like a gun, and it takes a long time. That's how they incentivize you to move into axe mode instead. You can actually run out of sword gauge in the middle of the animation of the morph, because the morph is technically an attack, and you can cancel the reload just by morphing at the very second that you run out. Of course, it is always a lot more efficient to do that than getting stuck on a reload, so that's what you wanna do. Your focus strike is also really good. That's by holding your left trigger to get in focus mode, and then you hit a wound with right bumper, and you can start the focus strike on one weapon, and you can even morph into the other weapon if you want with right trigger mid animation. The ideal way to do it is to start on axe mode and morph into sword mode, so that way you get the explosion finisher, which does a lot more damage. You can do it backwards, or you can not morph at all. If you are in sword mode, do not morph. But now that we know the combos, you can understand the basic gameplay loop, so to speak, of the switch axe. First of all, we're gonna start in axe mode, and we're gonna do our bread and butter combo over and over again until we max out our gauge, and then we go to red. Once we are red, we get into the elemental discharge combo, and then we do the full follow-up, which is gonna do a hell of a lot of damage. And once we run out, we just go back to spamming the bread and butter combo until we fill up once again. Of course, you wanna take advantage of as many wounds as possible, because that's also a lot of damage. It is basically a free elemental discharge, but overall the switch axe is a deceptively easy weapon. Yes, managing the bar, optimizing it is hard, but you do not have to do it. You can just spam the combo I recommended, and just the fact that you're morphing all the time, you are gonna have a decent balance of both bars just on its own without thinking about it. And if you are stuck in axe mode a little longer, that is not a huge deal either. You still get good damage in axe mode, and I know that the switch axe doesn't do a lot of damage right now, but after taking a closer look into the moveset and the combos, it is not a problem, okay? The moveset is fine, it is the numbers, and fixing damage numbers is a lot easier than fixing a moveset that doesn't work. I even dare say that I really like the switch axe in this iteration. It is basically the same from Rise, and we all know that Monster Hunter Rise, the switch axe was very popular, so that's gonna happen again, probably. Overall, I really recommend it. Subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.